slumping. Yes, the dreaded slump, how we get into it, why we get into it, and how to snap out of it. The second thing to understand is what I call the 4 seasons of hitting. Okay. And this is something that we have to understand. It's how the entire world and universe works. Everything works on cycles, right? On seasons. Okay. So let's think about the seasons of the year. Okay. We have spring, summer, fall, and winter. So let's just assume that the spring, right? The spring is more cold. Right, that's when baseball starts. It's cold. It starts to warm up. Okay, then we move into summer. The summer is hot. Right. Okay, as the summer starts to wind down, we head into the fall. Okay, in the fall, things as it's cooling down, it goes from hot to warm, and then eventually from warm to cold. And then what follows the fall is the winter, and the winter is cold and wet and dark. Right. So just like the seasons of the year, we will face these same seasons throughout our baseball season as a hitter and as any player really, but especially as a hitter. Okay, so I've broken it down this way. So spring is cold to warm. Okay, summer's hot, fall is warm and cold, and winter is cold. Okay, you are going to experience this as a hitter. Now, not necessarily in that order. The order is going to be dependent on a lot of things, right? And how long you stay in each of these seasons is going to determine on you, right? And so that's the area that we can improve. But the one thing that we cannot eliminate the seasons. You will face these seasons throughout your season, okay? But it makes sense, okay? And this is just a fact. You have to accept it, just like the weather outside. I mean, yeah, I'm sure there are some people that are pretty pissed off about the weather going on outside. What are you going to do about it? Nothing. But I want you to understand and accept you are going to face all 4 seasons throughout your season. The way I've broken it down, there are 3 seasons that are going to be cold. There's going to be 3 seasons where you could be cold. There's going to be 2 seasons where you can be warm. And there's going to be 1 season where you can be red hot. And I believe that hitting is going to work out in a similar ratio. You're going to be hot far less than you're going to be cold. Right? You're going to be warm less than you're going to be cold, but more than you're going to be hot, if you can stay with me on that. Okay. And so the fluctuation of how we go through the season, like I said, is going to be determined on you. So me, for example, my hots were so friggin' hot that I was as good as anybody when I was hot. But when I was cold, I was as bad as anybody. I mean, it can get ugly. My strikeouts would come in big batches. I would check swing. I would roll over, just really, really poor at-bats and giving up my at-bats when I was cold. Okay. When I was warm, okay, things start to click a little bit. The swings get better. The contact gets a little bit better. I'm not necessarily hot, but I'm competing, and maybe I'm getting a couple hits here and there. Maybe still kind of hitting some ground balls. And again, I was a power hitter, so ground balls I wasn't legging them out. Okay. Then eventually I could get hot. And, maybe I'm hot for a week or a week and a half or 2. I'm referring to professional baseball. So I think the longest, maybe like a full week and a half, I could be just absolutely on a tear. And I hit like 4, 5, even 6 home runs in like a week and a half. I just go off with also like minimal strikeouts, base hits, spraying the ball to the field, line drives, fly balls, home runs, deep fly balls, balls off the wall, ground rule doubles, et cetera, et cetera. And then, of course, eventually cool down, back to warm, and then eventually cold. My biggest problem was my mental, my attitude, right? I did not handle failure well at all, okay? I had personal stressors in my life that were happening off the field, and those things I would carry onto the field, okay? This is a big reason why I talk so much about the mental, because I was the type of player that had all the physical ability, right? The skill set didn't matter because I set my own ceiling because my mindset and my attitude was was poor. Very poor. This is the biggest issue with most players, especially if we're talking about at the professional level, minor league level. Most players have the tools and the skill set to be in the major leagues. They just aren't consistent enough to put it together. Their summers aren't long enough. The late spring and the early falls, not long enough. The winters, early spring, late fall, winters, too long. So we need to be able to spend more time in the summer, more time in late spring, and more time in the early fall. All those warm and hot times, we need to broaden those. But there is no eliminating them. You will hit all season during your baseball season. What do you do with this information? Accept it. Accept it as fact. And so what this does is it takes the pressure off of you. You know winter is coming. Okay? It's only a matter of time. Now, it doesn't mean to be fearful of it, but you just know. When you're hot, you're not going to stay hot all year long. It's ridiculous. And it was ridiculous for me to think it, because when I was hot, and I was cooling down, I used to get pissed off and get upset, thinking that like I'm just going to go on a tear and hit 4 home runs every week for the rest of the season. And that's just not going to happen. Right? I could have done better. I could have gave myself a pretty good chance to do that, but it's not as likely to happen. Right? So just accepting it as fact will allow you to expand the warm and hot and minimize the cold. Accept it as fact. It takes the pressure off. The whole idea of slumping is selfish. You're thinking about yourself, as you should. There's a right amount of selfishness. But let's use this to our advantage. When we are struggling, let's try to shift our focus away from ourselves and put it out on our team. That will help take the pressure off of you, therefore allowing you to control the next thought, control how you feel, how you carry your body, and therefore improve your swings and improve your at-bats, which will improve your results, which will complete the loop and get you back on track. And to help you with the process of how to create a new loop, I created a free guide, a 3-step release routine that is going to help you do just that. It was created by Dr. Ken Ravizza, author of Heads Up Baseball 2.0. I highly recommend you check that out. I'll leave a link to it in the description below. Break it down step by step, how to create that new loop and how to get you dialed back in. So if you're watching this on YouTube, I'll leave a link in the description below and you can download that guide. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, you can go to ferrantebaseball.net/free guide. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed the episode. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Lets me know that you're enjoying this content and that you want to see more like it.